You say you want to let go, that you're ready to move on. But if that's true, then why do they still live in your thoughts every single day? Why, even knowing they caused you pain, do you find yourself missing them? Why does your heart race with every phone notification, secretly hoping it's them, even after everything that's happened? Stop fooling yourself. It's not really them you miss. It's the idea of who you thought they were. It's the fantasy you created, the illusion of love, the version of them you desperately wanted to believe in. As Carl Jung once said, "What you do not bring to consciousness will appear in your life as fate." And maybe that's what you're going through right now. This isn't just about a breakup. It's a confrontation with your own reflection. A mirror is being held up to you, showing truths you've avoided facing for far too long. This video isn't about sugar-coated advice or pretending to move on like nothing ever happened. What we're diving into here will sting. It will press against the places you've tried to keep hidden, but it will also begin to free you. The truth is harsh. What we often call love is sometimes just our unresolved pain attaching itself to someone who triggers it. It's not about them. It's your inner wounds crying out, trying to be seen, even if it means staying connected to someone who tears you apart. That's not love. That's captivity. And what if I told you that all the hurt, the longing, the anxiety when you feel unseen or cast aside has little to do with them and everything to do with what's missing inside you? In this video, I'll walk with you through a deep and honest journey. We'll unravel the inner workings of your mind, uncover why you hold on to people who hurt you, and most importantly, how you can start to release yourself. But I won't lie. What you're about to hear may challenge you. It won't be easy. Truth rarely is. But it's only by stepping into it that you'll stop begging to be loved and start reclaiming your own power. So, are you ready? If you are, let's begin. Have you ever paused to ask yourself why you feel such a strong bond with someone who only brings you harm? Why, even though you're fully aware of the manipulation, the abuse, and the heartache, some part of you still longs for their presence? The answer doesn't lie in them. It lies deep within you, in places you may not have explored yet. Carl Jung didn't view relationships as simple social connections. To him, every emotional attachment acts as a mirror, reflecting the hidden parts of our unconscious mind. When we fall for someone, we don't see them for who they really are. We see a reflection of what we've repressed or never fully known about ourselves. This is what Jung referred to as psychic projection. You aren't clinging to this person because of who they are. You're clinging because of what they symbolize inside your inner world. They might unconsciously embody the archetype of the anima or animus, those primal symbols of the feminine and masculine that reside within each of us. These archetypes represent what we believe is missing in us, what we crave to feel whole. But once these inner images are projected onto another person, the illusion becomes so powerful that we confuse wholeness with attachment and love with surrender. That's where the trouble begins. What starts as admiration and passion can quickly spiral into obsession, especially when the other person doesn't live up to the perfect image you've created in your mind. And in that illusion, we begin to lose ourselves. We accept less than we deserve. We explain away red flags. We betray our own needs, all in pursuit of a love that, in reality, never existed as we imagined it. It wasn't love. It was emotional hunger, disguised as romantic fantasy. As long as you keep searching outside for what you lack inside, you'll remain trapped, tied to unread messages, fleeting attention, and validation that never seems to come. Your unconscious convinces you that your worth depends on someone else's approval. But Jung reminds us, until you face and integrate the hidden parts of your psyche, you'll keep repeating the same patterns, falling for the same energies in different people. That's not misfortune. It's unconscious fate. So how do you break free from this cycle? How do you stop living to meet others' emotional expectations and finally reconnect with your own truth? That's what we'll dive into next. The hidden drive for validation and the cost of abandoning yourself. If this message resonates with you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Thank you for being here. You were taught far too early that love had to be earned, that to be worthy of someone's presence, you had to be pleasing, helpful, and desirable. So you shaped yourself into what others wanted, building a carefully constructed image to win affection. But every time you reshaped yourself to fit someone else's expectations, you moved further away from your true essence. Carl Jung referred to this false self as the persona, a mask we create to navigate the social world. While it serves a purpose, the danger comes when we mistake the mask for who we really are. When that happens, we begin to suffocate what's authentic within us. This is exactly what plays out in emotionally dependent relationships. You dim your light so they won't feel threatened. You swallow your needs, your pain, your voice, just to avoid the terror of being abandoned. But the approval you crave so desperately in others' eyes, words, and touch, it never truly fills you. Because deep inside, if you're living out a performance, no amount of praise will feel real. It's like trying to feed your hunger with air. That emptiness you feel, it's not about missing the other person. It's about missing yourself. The version of you that was buried to feel acceptable, the freedom to be who you are without fearing you'll be left behind. And so long as you rely on someone else to define your identity, their absence will shatter you. Every silence will feel like rejection. Every critical word will cut deep. That's where anxiety begins. That heaviness in your chest, the restless nights, the obsession with notifications, the emotional hypervigilance. But the truth is, what you're really afraid of isn't losing them. It's facing the mirror and realizing you no longer know who you are outside of that relationship. Still, anxiety isn't your enemy. It's your soul's alarm. It's a symptom of inner conflict, of hidden parts of you fighting to come to the surface while you keep pushing them down. And the more you ignore them, the more they demand to be seen. That's when anxiety in toxic relationships becomes more than just an emotional byproduct. It becomes a message, a call from within. And to truly begin healing, you can't just soothe the symptoms. You have to face the root. In the next part, we'll go even deeper, exploring how anxiety is born from inner fragmentation and what it's really trying to tell you about who you are. You call it anxiety, but what you're really feeling is the stifled cry of all the parts of you that were silenced, dismissed, rejected, even amputated, for the sake of being loved. It's your soul sending out a signal, trying to tell you that something is deeply off, that the emotional reality you're living is false, that the cost of keeping this relationship intact is far too steep, and it's your true self paying the price. Carl Jung showed us that the human psyche is layered, both conscious and unconscious, and for us to be well, those layers must exist in harmony. But when you suppress your authentic self just to keep someone else in your life, that inner harmony fractures. What takes its place is a raw, painful split within. And that split shows up as anxiety. This isn't only about a fear of being left behind. It's an inner tug of war between what you genuinely feel and what you permit yourself to express. Every time you hold back your tears so you won't be a burden, every time you say, "I'm okay," while crumbling inside, you deepen that inner divide. Anxiety, then, becomes your mind's way of fighting for equilibrium. It's your unconscious trying to restore the balance you lost. It's as if there's a war playing out inside. On one side, the false self, desperate for approval. On the other, the real you, gasping for air, aching to be free. The tightness in your chest isn't random. It's the pressure of squeezing into a life that doesn't reflect who you are. The racing heartbeat, that's your soul trying to escape a version of life it never chose. The constant dread of losing someone else, it's rooted in the truth that you've already lost pieces of yourself. And no message, no reconciliation, no temporary comfort can make that go away. Because the problem doesn't live in someone else, it lives in the disconnection between you and your own essence. As long as you continue searching for something outside to fix what's broken within, anxiety will stay close, always whispering its warning. But Jung offers us something powerful. This fragmentation is not your downfall. It's your wake-up call. It's your opportunity to return to yourself, to listen to what your pain is really saying, to reclaim what you abandoned just to be loved. And that brings us to one of the deepest, most potent forces within the unconscious, the shadow. In the next section, we'll dive into how your shadow fuels those toxic cycles, why you keep returning to what hurts you most. Because if you truly want to break free, you have to be willing to face what you've kept hidden from your own heart. You might believe you're consciously choosing the people you connect with. But what if, in truth, those choices are being made by the most hidden part of your psyche? What if it's not really you choosing the pain, but your shadow? The part of you that's been denied, rejected, and pushed into the dark, silently guiding your relationships. Carl Jung described the shadow as everything we don't want to be but are. Traits we were taught to be ashamed of by our families, culture, or society. These are parts we've buried to feel accepted. But burying something doesn't mean it's gone. What's repressed becomes raw psychic energy, waiting for an outlet. And do you know where the shadow most often finds its stage? Relationships. You draw in people who reflect your shadow back at you. That's why you keep repeating the same painful dynamics, even when the faces and names change. The story stays the same. You abandon yourself, get hurt, take the blame, settle for crumbs, and call it love. This isn't bad luck. It's a path carved by your unconscious patterns. Are you drawn to emotionally unavailable partners, narcissists, manipulators? Ask yourself, what are these connections trying to show you about the parts of yourself you've disowned? Maybe you suppress your anger, your hunger to be seen, your need for control. And so, you surrender to someone who unapologetically embodies those very things you're afraid to own. That's how the shadow works. It projects itself onto others. You despise in them what you can't face in yourself. You adore in them what you've long abandoned in yourself. It's a painful, repetitive game, but one that will continue until you finally choose to face what you've hidden. Because until you recognize your shadow, it will keep showing up in your life through others, just to be seen. Jung said it best. What you resist persists. What you accept transforms. It's not enough to escape toxic relationships. You need to understand why they appeal to you. And that means gathering the courage to turn inward and admit that part of the chaos comes from within, that you carry unhealed wounds, unresolved traumas, and desires you've tried to silence. And all of that needs to be integrated, not ignored. So how do you turn your shadow into a source of strength? How do you break the cycle of emotional self-sabotage and rebuild the most vital relationship in your life, the one with yourself? This is the path Jung called individuation. In the next part, we'll explore this process of coming home to your true self and how it can be the beginning of deep emotional freedom. Now that you've seen your shadow, the real question is, are you ready to begin the healing? If this resonates with you, my ebook Beyond the Shadow will guide you further. It unpacks Jung's essential teachings and offers practical tools to help you reconnect with your inner truth. You'll find the link in the pinned comment. There comes a time when you can no longer live in pieces, no longer split between the version of yourself the world sees and the voice that cries out inside. It's in that moment, when the pain grows too heavy to hold, that true healing begins. For Carl Jung, this marks the beginning of individuation, the psychological journey where you stop being ruled by your masks and unconscious wounds and begin stepping into your authentic self. But let's be clear, individuation isn't a gentle or glamorous path. It's a deep confrontation. It asks you to face everything you've tried to avoid, your fears, your wounds, your patterns of self-sabotage. It means waking up to the roles you've created, the illusions you've lived, and accepting that, often, you played a part in your own suffering. Not because you wanted pain, but because you didn't know another way. Because your identity was shaped by emptiness, a hunger for validation, and a fear of rejection. Individuation begins the moment you stop chasing those who don't see you and start seeing yourself, honestly, fully, without filters. It's when you ask yourself, why do I keep abandoning me just to hold on to someone else? What am I trying to fill? What part of me do I give up every time I beg for love? These questions cut deep, but they're the ones that finally lift the illusion. In facing them, you start to call back the scattered pieces of your soul. Every time you choose silence over pleading, every time you hold a boundary, every time you say no instead of shrinking, you're choosing you. You're letting go of the false self built to please others and becoming something truer, stronger, and more free. And here's the most powerful shift. Once you reconnect with your core, you stop needing someone else to save you. You don't need approval to feel worthy. You don't need affection to feel whole. You come home to your body, your space, your truth. Jung described individuation as the realization of the self, the discovery of who you really are beneath the masks and beyond the shadow. It's here that you finally understand. You never needed those who wounded you to feel alive. You simply needed to remember that your pain doesn't define you. It's just one chapter in your story. But before this journey ends, there's one more crucial step: understanding what all of this means in real life. How do you live this truth? How do you break free from the people who hurt you and turn that break into your greatest inner strength? That's the next part of the path, and where your transformation truly begins.